Welcome to Review STL Video. This is our review of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. So first off, this movie is Part 1 of 2, so they broke it pretty much right in half. How do you think that worked for the overall feel?
I think it worked for some of the movie. However, towards the end, I think the way it ends so abruptly, it's going to diss a lot of fans who aren't fans of the books as well. In addition to the fact that when you break up into two parts, you have such a long movie that some of those parts kind of drag. The camping scenes, for example, are just they're atrociously long at times. They also have a little bit of a problem of introducing new things in the movie that seem like they just pop out of nowhere. Because they have so much more time, they're making up for lost time that they had in the other 6 movies when they might have been better off doing it in the previous films.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is, I've never read the books. I mean, I've started reading them, but I don't have the full experience. And so, it wasn't like I was seeing the pages come to life. I was there just watching a movie. And to me, I did experience that dragging.
Yeah, I think for fans of the book, it probably isn't as bad because they know where they're going, they know what scenes are happening, and there was a lot of moments in the theater where fans were laughing at stuff that the rest of the audience wasn't because they were remembering things from the book rather than things from the movie, which I don't think is quite a positive sometimes with the movie. It has to stand on its own merits as well.
Right, exactly. Now, how do you think the actors did in the film? This is the 7th film. We've seen these kids basically grow up over, the past decade.
I think it's absolutely amazing that you grab 3 actors, actually more than that because you got all the other Hogwarts kids who aren't really as much in this one, but you have actors that you've gotten from the age of 10 or 11 when they were cast, and now they're, 20, 21 in real life, but they're playing 16, 17-year-olds in this. But it's amazing that across 10 years that these kids can grow up and still maintain good acting and act well as adults as well. It's not just, as kids acting. I think they hold their own well, especially when you put in the fact that they're going up against people like Robbie Coltrane, Alan Rickman, Emma Thompson. I mean, you have big names in the Harry Potter movies, and I think, frankly, Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson do fantastic jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think the casting before the first film was just incredible because they were going to pick people that would eventually go on to do 8 different films.
Oh, yeah.
And, they had to be good enough actors to, portray these characters growing up as they're actually growing up. So, yeah, I was very impressed with the acting skills.
Yeah, I think being across it in 8 films though helps them grow up with the character as well. So they made the characters on their own. I mean, the differences between these characters and the characters in the books are minimal, but there are some things that you notice that Harry might be a little funnier in the books rather than he is in the movie, but Daniel Radcliffe definitely is a little bit more somber and a little bit more mature than I think he's written in the books. So I think the kids did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about this film.
Well, this film is probably the most depressing of them all. It's the Empire Strikes Back of the Harry Potter universe. I mean, you have Wizarding World crumbling around Harry and his friends. You have the Ministry of Magic being taken over directly by Voldemort, and he's stopping mudbloods. Yeah, we're using that term. He's trying to put humans in the right place. I mean, the effects are changing over not just from the Wizarding World, but into the human world as well. So you're having murders by Death Eaters and other things like that. But what really is crazy is once the Ministry falls, Harry can't go back to Hogwarts because Voldemort is after him. So the kids have to go on the run, and that's where we get a lot of those kind of long, sometimes a little bit boring camping scenes.
Do you think this film is appropriate for children?
I mean, it definitely has a PG-13 rating this time around. A little bit more violent. It's a little scarier too. I mean, the cinematography of the film is in these like dark grays, and it's very grayscale and dull, and it lends kind of a depressing air to it, and it also lends kind of a moody, scary air to it. I mean, you're on the edge of your seat for Harry and Ron and Hermione to make it through the entire thing, and there's quite a few scares in it.
How closely did this first half of the seventh film follow the book?
I mean, it followed it pretty closely. There was a few things that was changing. Like at the beginning with the Dursleys, there's a much bigger, much more heartfelt scene in the book, and you don't really get that. So you don't get a lot of closure with his family on Privet Drive, and there's a few other things that are cut for time, and then there's things added in as well because of what I said earlier, where they had to make up time from things that they've cut out of other movies. You have essentially a 5-hour movie in total right now. So they were able to add a lot more that they've missed, and then they're also able to get much more of the final book in than they would have in any other film.
In the last 6 movies, it seems like, we've come to know these characters and we see a lot of the characters over and over again and get a better feeling of who they are. Do we follow the same characters in this film, or do we see a lot of new people?
Mostly you're following just the core characters in this film. You do get a lot of characters that are back from other movies. However, you're going to need to be a Potter aficionado really to know who some of them are. But you do get a few new characters. You meet Ron Weasley's brother Bill, and you meet his fiancée Fleur, who we met in Goblet of Fire. Dobby's back this time around, as well as Creature, Sirius's house elf. As well as you got people like Kingsley Shacklebolt and people like that who haven't really played big parts in the movie, but they're very, very integral characters to the books. So if you're a big Potter fan, you're going to notice a lot of that. If not, there's not a lot of people that you're really going to be too concerned about not meeting. Most of the new characters are very minimal.
We see a lot more of Voldemort in this movie. In the past films, it seems that Voldemort is kind of a scary figure lurking in a dark corner. You see a little bit of him, you hear him. And in this movie, we see him on screen for quite a bit of time. It seems like, Voldemort has kind of been revealed, and he becomes, an actual main character.
Well, we really started to see that, I think, last film, where we go into his background and learn about the Horcruxes, and the Horcruxes are essential to this film. That's how they're going to bring down Voldemort. However, he's no longer behind the scenes anymore. He's up front, and everybody knows he's around. There's no hiding anymore. So he's much more free to be a upfront character than a scary background big bad. There's no Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher or anything that can be the villain this time.
And I just have to say that Ralph Fiennes is pretty creepy as Voldemort.
Yeah, he's a little creepy. I've heard some complaints where they think his voice is a little weird, but in the book it's described as high pitched and a little creepy, and I think it's plenty creepy for me.
They could have used a no-name actor, but they used someone, as talented as Fiennes, and I think it works very well.
Oh, yeah, the Harry Potter producers have been absolutely amazing about hiring high-end talent for it. You just really look at, one of the new characters that you meet is the new Minister of Magic, who's played by Bill Nighy. That's a big-name actor, especially in the UK. And just about everybody that's involved with the picture that has a speaking role that plays an adult is a big-name British actor. You don't really have too many people in the movie that you've never heard of before.
So overall, what did you think of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1?
Overall, I think it's a great entry into the series. It shows that it's still continuing to mature. Still shows that it's good not as just a Harry Potter film, but a standalone film. It has great performances, great cinematography, excellent scenery and props. Everything about the film. There's even a small animation sequence that I thought was absolutely brilliant in this film. However, I think until it can be viewed with Part 2, it's a B or B plus for me. I think after Part 2, if Part 2 ends up being amazing, it's going to be an A or A plus for me.
Only I can live forever.